Hold on.
until January 8th. It'll be in front of Judge McQuinn at that time at 1:30. The only preliminary thing in nature is that we'll file an amended complaint correcting her name to be Lucy Nicole. There'll be other witnesses that'll be identified in the next couple of weeks in the ongoing investigation, and they'll be added to the complaint. So prior to that January 8th date, we'll file an amended complaint with those minor things being changed or added. That's really all the news that there is on this case. To my knowledge, we don't have anything else special happening. Probably there'll be a competency evaluation at that point in time.
Was this supposed to be like a preliminary hearing?
No, it was actually a scheduling hearing. The preliminary hearing would have been scheduled if they had asked for a preliminary hearing quickly, but they didn't ask for a preliminary hearing. They asked, Mr. Brown just asked for additional time for him to complete his investigation, for him to decide if the next step should be either a competency evaluation or a preliminary hearing at that point in time. So, you know, there was no surprise, there was no witnesses today or anything like that. We all knew this was just a scheduling hearing today.
Well, forgive me, so there is a discrepancy with the name, so.
Oh, no. Well, there was a typo, Lindsay M instead of Lindsay N.
Oh.
And so we did not want anybody to be confused about, well, how do you get Nicole out of the letter M? So it's just minor in nature. So.
Okay. And for you, seeing a case like this, I mean, a lot of times you guys deal with tragedy, but I'm just seeing a case like this.
This is a very tragic situation. There's no doubt about that. My heart goes out to the family. Certainly, this child is, you know, it's a very sad situation, and you know, the community is all sad about it. And, you know, there's nothing we can do about that. We can just proceed with justice from here.
For those not familiar with the process, can you just, obviously we've had a little bit of time before we see January 8th, but this will take some time to play out in court, as you're guessing, like today.
Oh, sure. The defense attorney hasn't even had time, well, I even haven't had time to read all the reports, like we're still waiting for the autopsy results to come back. So things aren't going to be decided overnight, that's for sure.
When you say competency hearing, talk a little bit about what that means.
Well, there's the issues of, well, in any potential case, there's an issue of whether or not the defendant knows what's going on and understands the court proceedings and can assist in her own defense. That's the type of things that are evaluated at a competency hearing, and they always get a psychological evaluation in advance. If defense counsel wants a competency evaluation, that's certainly up to Mr. Brown. Mr. Brown will be making decisions on how we'll be proceeding and whether or not we'll go, you know, quickly to a preliminary hearing or have it delayed further for evaluations. So.
Kerwin, do you know if he met with her last night like he was scheduled to? Did Mike meet with Nicole last night?
Yes.
He did. But just that wasn't enough time to.
Well, since I know I haven't already had all the reports, I know Mr. Brown could not yet have all the reports. Well, Mr. Brown has most of what I have, and we'll be sharing more information with Mr. Brown because we have an open file policy, and so as soon as we get information, we always share it with defense counsel in terms of new reports that come in. And like I mentioned, the autopsy report is one of those new reports that will be coming in that are not yet in.
We can explain it, but just tell us what will happen then on that next court appearance on the 8th.
Well, it'll be a lot like today. If Mr. Brown wants a competency evaluation, he'll make a motion for that. If he doesn't, then we'll probably just schedule the preliminary hearing. It doesn't serve much purpose for me to speculate as to what he's going to be asking for. But, the state's ready to proceed whenever we need to have a hearing to present the evidence. The state will be ready.
And do you know, a lot of times defendants will be like on suicide watch or something in the jail. Is there anything there?
Well, I defer that to Sheriff Chambers. He, as well as I, you know, we understand the underlying situation in terms of basically how this happened and what this happened, and the typical, anybody that's done that type of thing, their own situation might suggest that they be under a watch like that. I don't have any information about whether or not there actually is one, but I'm sure that Sheriff Chambers is on top of that situation.
And what is the state alleging in this case?
Well, we're